أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم.
Apart from the adoption of human rights into our domestic laws, human rights needs visibility for there to be action. Today's discussion is precisely that, about creating visibility of human rights issues.
After 71 year-old conflict, a situation where the Kashmiri people seem to be left to fight their own struggle. We know that there's dispute between India and Pakistan, but ultimately the Kashmiri people are paying the price. So I acknowledge the complexity of the political history that has led to the persisting situation. However, it is imperative that all parties work to protect the fundamental human rights of the people of Kashmir.
Tonight I would like to share with you my experiences on my recent trip to Kashmir and Pakistan and consider the opportunities for peace with justice. First off, I wish to emphasise why I link those two words, peace and justice. We often see rulers and oppressors talk just of peace, but the subtext is that power relations will not change. Calling for peace has little meaning if the people of Kashmir and Jammu cannot decide their own future. In Pakistan, I met with the Foreign Minister, the Human Rights Minister, various NGOs and representatives of the Jammu Kashmir Awami Workers' Party. My meeting with the Youth Forum for Kashmir was informative and most inspiring. I also had a moving visit to the home of Muthal Malik, the wife of the Kashmiri jail leader Yasin Malik. As you can imagine, the information relayed to me was intense. Many stories of unlawful killings, arbitrary arrests, enforced disappearances, sexual abuse, families divided. There was also inspiring stories of people's collective actions for a peaceful and just future for Kashmir, and much hope that the UN Human Rights Report on this region will provide a pathway out of the decades of abuse and neglect that the people of this region are forced to live with, and I certainly share that hope. The UN report, its official title is Report on the Situation of Human Rights in Kashmir, sets out the stark dimensions of the Kashmir conflict and puts forward a set of recommendations for India, another set for Pakistan, and then a common set of recommendations. I believe this report does provide a unique opportunity to elevate the struggle for peace and justice in Kashmir and Jammu onto the world stage, and for there to be a positive outcome for the people of that region if there is a positive response to the recommendations in that report.
The holding of today's seminar coincides with the forthcoming 27th October, marked as Black Day by Kashmiris across the world. It was on this tragic day in 1947 that the Indian Armed Forces occupied Jammu and Kashmir against the aspirations of people in violation of Indian Independence Act of 1947 and overall partition plan. There are serious doubts about the genuineness of the instrument of accession, which India claims was signed by Maharaja to join her. Kashmiris, Pakistan and United Nations do not consider Indian claim as legally valid. The UN recognizes Kashmir as a disputed territory. The fact remains that Maharaja was not even empowered to accede to India, as he did not enjoy unqualified authority to do so. The mandatory principles of accession of princely states within the British Dominion to either join India or Pakistan, as outlined in the Independence Act 1947, are not fulfilled in the so-called accession. The Maharaja had not even carried out any exercise to ascertain the wishes of the people of Jammu and Kashmir on whether they wanted to be a part of Pakistan or India.
Today, we are all here to lodge a protest and the awareness against the ongoing human rights violation of the Kashmiris in the Indian occupied region of Kashmir.
Kashmir has been suffering for over 70 years. One of the words longest running conflicts. Current conflicts predominantly lie in Kashmir Valley, where occupied forces have limited their democratic and economic development. With many rape cases and unjustified killings, killing thousands throughout this course and using pellet guns, which has resulted in the loss of vision of many civilians.
And I think as we look to the struggles in Kashmir, at the front of every democratic institution's response to it needs to be those two concepts of global, recognising our global obligation to protect and restore human rights. Particularly, I'd like to acknowledge the Kashmir Council of Australia. Why is it important we do this in Parliament? Why is it we do it right here in the middle of the oldest Parliament in Australia? It's because the concept of human rights should be a universal concept. It is a universal concept. And the concept of self-determination, which is really at the core of the struggle in Kashmir, needs to be at the forefront of every democratic institution.
This is the situation that I think Kashmir finds itself in, where there are people who are unable to have agency in their own country, and it is their country.
So in terms of India's approach to Kashmir, it is hard to find any good news. India has banned media coverage and it has rejected the UN report and its recommendations. The chance of pressure from Western countries in support of the UN report is still unknown. Now, having said that, it is important that we push the Australian government, as we not only have historic links with the Kashmiri region, but we are currently a member of the United Nations Human Rights Council. The UN report and how its recommendations will be managed should be a regular council agenda item, and Australia should ensure that happens. And I believe we need to be putting pressure on the Australian government to ensure that is the case. Surely the Australian government should lobby the Indian government to lift the ban on foreign journalists going to Kashmir and to support the Committee of Inquiry going ahead. We also need to do everything to facilitate the independent investigation, having free access within Indian-occupied Kashmir in the same way that Pakistan has agreed to.
The report documents excessive use of force by Indian security forces to curb demonstrations that started in July 2016 after the killing of 22-year-old Kashmiri leader Burhanuddin Wani. To suppress the protests, Indian forces resorted to unlawful killings. Close to 150 civilians were killed and over 6,000 people were injured by security forces between mid-July and end of March 2018. One of the most lethal weapons used against protesters during the unrest is firing metal pellets that resulted in many young men and women losing their eyesight permanently, while causing irreparable vision damage to hundreds. The violence and killing by security forces continues unabated since the release of OHCHR's report. It seems no coincidence that Shujat Bukhari, journalist, and editor-in-chief of newspaper Rising Kashmir, was assassinated within hours of his tweet in favor of OHCHR's report. Ladies and gentlemen, it is evident that a major brunt of human rights violation is borne by vulnerable communities, which must not weight the overall political settlement of Kashmir issue. Australia has been in the past actively involved in efforts to find solution to Kashmir dispute. We would urge Australia to renew its engagement in the resolution of Kashmir disputes as friend of both the disputing parties. We hope that as member of Human Rights Council, Australia and Pakistan can cooperate to ensure implementation of UNHCR's report, most importantly on the formulation of Independent Commission of Inquiry over the human rights violation in Kashmir. Pakistan has assured OHCHR of its full cooperation, whereas India has arrogantly and outrightly rejected the report. I would once again like to thank the organizers of the seminar as well as the worthy speakers for their contributions. Thank you very much.